Welcome back to the Sherwood Urban Farm. It's been a while since I've posted a video. I've been so busy with farmers markets and my home industry, but here we are. I'm going to do a garden tour today. It's been long overdue. I was going to do one in September in springtime for us in the southern hemisphere, just didn't get around to it. But rather late than never, so without any further ado, let's get to it. So we're going to start with the gooseberries. They have really surprised me this year. I've made jam. I think I made about 4 or 5 jars of jam. There's still more. The mouse birds are getting to them. I'm thinking that's fine. It's okay. They can have it. And then underneath our gooseberries here, I've still got my herbs. And then I planted in some lettuce, because it normally was getting a lot of shade, but then yesterday I just had enough with the lemon tree because it was getting so big, so I pruned that back. So I don't know how we're going to go along with the lettuce if it's getting a lot of sun in the summer, but we'll see how we go, eh? And then I've planted in some kale in this bed. I've also decided this year that I'm going to cover the beds with straw. Well, it's not actually straw, it's teff, which is what they mow. It's teff. Anyway, and the reason I'm doing this is not for weeds, it's to try and keep the moisture in, because it's like the last few days the wind has just been blowing relentlessly and it's drying things out. But I've noticed there's a huge difference in the beds which have got the straw on it or the hay compared to the beds that don't. And then here are my millies. Well, these are sweet corn. I've harvested a few already. Only one was ready. So I'm still trying to get that right, when to harvest them. I know the silks must be dry. So I'd look at this and think, oh, well, this looks pretty dry to me. But I think it actually needs to be drier than this, because last night when we had the little kernels were not completely developed and it wasn't all that sweet. But the first one that I harvested at the correct time, it was lovely. They're white. They're not the yellow sweet corn, but they've got potential. I must just wait. I'm just so worried that it's going to go over and then they're going to be like flowery and it's not going to be nice. Underneath, I put some carrots in. I haven't had great success with carrots. I don't know if you look at my previous video, then I had mentioned the carrots which I had in that bed, which were my Nantes carrots, and they grew beautiful greens, but they didn't go down very deep. Apparently it's my watering style, so I'm going to alter that and try and get that right. The blackberries were amazing this year. I have made 6 liters of blackberry cordial or blackberry syrup. I thought to do jam, but I'm not so fond of that, the seeds, so you get that crunchy taste. So I'm not so, texture, I'm not so fond of that, but it's just been so prolific. So the previous growing season, I cut them back just before the growing season, and then we hardly got anything. And this is now the second growing season after pruning them, and it's just been incredible. But I must also say we've been getting a lot of rain, although this last week's just been so windy, and then today is this peculiar mist. Who knows? So I finally got my aubergines, eggplants in the ground. They're still going to be a while before we have any action from them. And then underneath the lemon tree, I usually put in things that don't like a lot of direct sun. So I have my Swiss chard, which we call spinach. I've still got my onions in there. They just take forever, but they're coming along. They're starting to bulb nicely. And then some spearmint. And I really wanted a lot of sweet corn this year, so I have 3 beds with sweet corn. I did try in the front garden and in the back garden, but it didn't work so well, because the way the sun moves, when I planted them they were getting full sun, but now the sun is at such an angle that they're in the shade most of the day, so that didn't work so well. I interplanted with some sunflowers, Now these sunflowers were in the seed trays for too long, so that it's dwarfed them, which actually is fun because last year we had these enormous sunflowers. The stem was like this, but it was falling over and I had to try and stake it, and it was a bit of a pain, and then it only made one flower, where this one, okay, this one's only got one flower, but some of the others have gotten flowers in the little axil, in the leaf axil, which is fantastic. Underneath these, I had overwintered. This is a red bell pepper. It's not looking great because I had so many marigolds. It was just marigolds everywhere. They came up in the path, and I just left them because it looked so nice. But just yesterday, actually, I pulled them out, and also this bed with the tomatoes. It was just marigolds everywhere, so I pulled that out as well. This is an interesting tomato. This is a determinant one, and it was when the seed, the one I ordered online, was supposed to be a yellow tumbling tom, but it turns out to be a red. I don't think I'll grow it again. I thought it looked so nice in the pictures. It's just this mass of yellow tomatoes cascading down the side of the pot. But so I put one in the ground here. I've got some in the pots there. I don't think tomatoes must be in pots, really don't. They're heavy feeders. If you're on top of your feeding game, then it'll be better, and watering, and just I'm not. So it's best that they go in the ground. It's just better. Now these tomatoes are Santa Fe cocktail tomatoes, and they grew from cuttings from the ones that are in the greenhouse, and they have been producing. It's just amazing how much, not as much as in the greenhouse, however, but there are a lot, and I'll show you down the wall as well. And I love to do this way of trellising them. I think it's called the Parisian way, but anyways, I love to do it. And then I have one lead, and then I just snap off all the little side shoots that are trying to come out, and it just keeps it neat and it doesn't get out of control. Because over there I've got a tomato that is a volunteer, came out by itself. It's a cherry tomato, and it's making massive cherries, but it's just getting out of control. It's too big. Its side shoots are going out, but the side shoots are the ones that are carrying the fruit, so I might actually just pull it out. I've got a lot of tomato plants, and the spinach is still here. I want to clear this out, give it to the chickens, and put in my second lot of potatoes. I want a lot of potatoes this year. We'll get to the potato bed now, but that's what I'm going to do with this. I've been harvesting from here, from this bed, for months already, and it doesn't look terrible, but I can see the outer ones they're not performing so great anymore. This bed, I was so indecisive with this bed, and the marigolds came up, and I just left them, and eventually I stuck in some more Swiss chard. I let my thyme go to flower for the bees, and I will cut them back. I think you can still even dry the flowers as well, and then they use them as mix them in with other herbs in the kitchen, so that's fine. I really felt like I wanted the bees to have something. And then I put in some potatoes in between. Maybe not such a good idea in amongst this, because now they didn't grow as big as they should have, but we'll see. I'll harvest that. I'm gonna do a video about my restart method of growing potatoes. They're almost ready for harvesting, so I'm going to do a video on that by itself, because I think it's successful. I will see. The proof will come when I pull that plant out and see how many potatoes we've got in there. Then I put the banana trees I've now put in the ground, and that's the best thing that I could have done for them. That one maybe not so great, but this one is doing amazing. It's got little babies. I'm really hopeful that this year we're actually going to eat our own bananas. these were also from cuttings from the plants in the tomatoes in the greenhouse, and they are actually doing really well, better than the ones in the other bed. You can see these are just amazing. We've been harvesting non-stop from them. I might actually do something to try and preserve them. Also, maybe do some kind of a jam or tomato sauce or something. But right now, we're just eating them in the garden. We're eating them in salads every night. They're doing great. I'm gonna just have them sort of cascading down again. So once this has cleared up, I'll just prune off all the leaves and then just let it come back down again. I have to keep my finger on it though, because the side shoots are continuously growing out, and I don't want it to spend its energy in growing out side shoots. It must just fruit on its one lead. Then I've still got the kale in here. When I harvest the potatoes, I'm going to take these kale out. There's more kale here in this bed, and then underneath I have, well, there's these cosmos and some borage, but I did plant sweet potatoes and they are doing really well now. With all the rain we had in the beginning of December, we had a lot of rain almost daily, which is very unusual for us, and it just makes such a difference in the garden. I planted some more of the sunflowers which were in the trays, which got stunted, but I mean, I'm really happy with them actually this size. I don't actually like them getting too big. And then in between, while I'm waiting for the sweet potatoes, I planted in some radish. And I noticed that in our climate here in the Eastern Cape, it's actually better to plant radish in the cooler months. I mean, they're growing and they're okay, but they certainly, the leaves are much smaller and they're not growing as fast as they normally do in the cooler season. And over here we have another bed with sweet corn in it, and then along the edge of the bed I planted some gem squash plants. I just had so many, so the idea is that they will go over the fencing there, over the bench, and then but yeah, they are actually coming through here. I must reroot them, because what happens is my bell peppers get covered with them. So they weren't, the plan wasn't to put them in, but I just didn't have any more space and they needed to go in the ground, so I put those in there. And then I want to quickly show you what I made this little tunnel thing so that I can harden off my seedlings in here. Now they need to go in the ground, some of them, but I'm out of space. And then so these ones took a bit of strain yesterday because they wilted because I didn't water them enough. I just didn't get out here. It was so busy. So this is where I'm just repurposed a gate, because my son built this beautiful new gate for the vegetable garden, and I thought, oh, this is going to be perfect. So I put some welded wire on it, and this is now where I'm able to harden off my seedlings, and they're not going to be blasted by the wind which we get here in PE. And then lastly, I'm really excited to show you the my trellis, which are all arch, pergola, whatever you want to call it. I made a video on that, on how I built it, and I want to show you my cucumbers and beans which are growing along there. So I'm so impressed with this arch and the way it's working. It's really sturdy. Well, that didn't look sturdy, but it is sturdy. And it's as sturdy as I'm going to get it. And look at these. This is how easy I can harvest my beans. These are Witzer beans. Something's been going at their leaves. I'm not sure what that is. And then on this side, I've got the cucumbers. And they don't seem to want to go that high. I have to train them up. But the butternut, I just planted 3 butternut plants on the side here, and they have been quite happy to go up. the little ones have been falling off. I wasn't quite sure, but I've noticed now the problem possibly was that with the butternut is that it's only today, or yesterday and today, is the first time I've seen the male flowers. So possibly that was the problem. So here's a female with a female flower. So I'm hoping to get some butternut. These are the Barbara, they're called Barbara squash. So they stay sort of green, they don't go that orangey color. But the cucumbers, well, I've never had cucumbers like this before. I think it's got to do possibly with the rain. We've been getting a lot of rain. And so it's either that, or it's because it's in this soil which has never been planted in or dug over. I'm not altogether sure why, but they are just doing so great. This variety is called the burpless cucumber. It is a smaller one, and it's got little spikes on it as well. And you must just not leave it too long, because otherwise then the skin gets a bit leathery. But beautiful. It's got a nice crunch, full of juice. It's just lovely. And then lastly, so I'm going to quickly show you where I put in the sweet corn, and you can just see the difference in size. It's the same seeds, and they don't get enough sun. So that's the problem with these. They've made these little tiddly things, but oh well, I'll take it. But what has gone really well here is gem squash. They don't seem to mind not getting as much sun. I cut off the older leaves as they start to get the powdery mildew, but you can see here it's going into the bush, and we've had some already. There's one over there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants. Here they're growing the best, and they can just ramble along and then climb up over the plumbago. Oh, there is some more over here as well. I am covering them because the rabbits and the tortoises also enjoy the gem squash as much as we do. So that's my garden tour, summer garden tour, and I hope you enjoyed that. I do feel like I could have done more. I didn't plan very well this season, and it's always such a pity because you only really have one growing season a year of certain things, but it's all right. I think I'm going to get a good harvest of my sweet corn, and I'm hoping that my eggplants are going to do well. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my garden tour, and if you did, then please like and subscribe and share with your friends.